Hey guys, I recently shared my office tour with you, at least the tour of my most recent configuration of my office, and also what is in my drawers, these drawers above me that I have so many of. Something else that I have been asked is, I noticed that you have books down there. What are all your books? So let me share with you some of the books that I have. To get started, I should tell you that I love books. I love them. I used to have an entire big bookshelf of them, and I do still have a bunch of books kind of around my home. However, I got rid of a lot of my books because I went through a phase where I just wanted to be unencumbered and not have a lot of stuff. I think that was my mid-20s, and I'm pretty sure everybody goes through that. I think it's called the quarter life crisis. But anyway, I went through this phase where I wanted to not have a bunch of books. So I got rid of a whole bunch of my books. I had a bunch of old textbooks and books that I had read. And yeah, I got rid of them. But I do still have some of them, and I have collected a few more, either from people giving me books or me compulsively purchasing them. One of my favorite places in the entire world is the used bookstore. Let me show you some of my books. Let's start at the small end, shall we? I've got random books. I've got the Bhagavad Gita, and I just like to read like random things. I have this book from a friend, actually. It's called The Religions of Man. I like to study religion and philosophy, and so my friend gave me that. It was a book that someone had given her. Anyway, she gave it to me. Moving on down the line, who doesn't have The Art of War, right? I have a couple of books that I've gotten from people that are like little photo books, Grand Canyon Reflections and Remarkable Places. This one says, Explore the Beauty of Nature's Hidden Places. It's fun to look at books like this. It always makes me want to go places. Uh-oh, I'm making a mess. I've also got one of my favorite books is this one. This is A Field Guide to Rocks and Minerals. It is old, it's well used, and it came from my grandfather. He loved rocks, and somehow I caught that bug from him, loving rocks. That was one of my favorite things to do when I would go over to his house. He would go out on these weekend adventures with his metal detector, and he would find stuff, including really cool rocks. And he would always give us things from his adventures, and rocks was one of those things that I really loved. He had a rock tumbler too, which was so cool. Anyway, so when he passed away, my dad asked me, is there anything that you want? And I said, well, I really want the rock tumbler, but I don't really have room for a rock tumbler because it was a big one. So I would just like one of the books from his shelf about rocks. I also incidentally got an old book of maps of Arizona, and my car got broken into and it got stolen. What a bummer is that? Anyway, it was completely outdated, so joke's on them. Joke's on the robbers. They're not getting a lot of places with that thing. I just had it in the car because I think that my adventuring came down to me through my dad and his dad before that. So, long-winded story to tell you that I have a book about rocks. What else do I have? I've got some stuff I have a lot of books on nutrition. Sports nutrition for endurance athletes. I've got the Total Immersion book. If you guys like to swim, the Total Immersion book is a really good book to look at. I have a philosophy textbook from when I was in college. I think this is from like my second year of college. I have this book that I have not finished, and I have had it since the early 2000s at least. It's called M, The Man Who Became Caravaggio. Caravaggio is one of my favorite artists, and there's this long book about him, and he had a very interesting life. This book I have carried around with me. It is scotch taped closed because the cover and the back cover have fallen off, and I still haven't finished it. I am totally leaving this out and I'm going to finish it. Should we do the Snapcheck book club where we read a book together about art? Anybody want to read this with me? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, I'm only half joking, but I will try to read that book because I've been wanting to. Let's see, I've got Origin of Species. I've got The Emperor's Handbook by Marcus Aurelius. I am very much interested in Stoic philosophy, so I like to read stuff by Marcus Aurelius or whatever, all the Stoic philosophers. You guys don't need to know about all that. I've got these books on nutrition, the Thrive meal or the Thrive kind of nutrition philosophy. I don't want to call it a diet because it's not a diet. It's kind of a whole philosophy on nutrition. The guy who came up with this or put his name on it, I think he actually came up with it, is an Ironman athlete, and he's vegan. And I find that interesting because I have also done triathlons and such and endurance races, and I am also vegan. So I really like his plan. It's all about recovering faster so that you can work out more. Makes a lot of sense, actually. What else do I have? I've got a book on Picasso, some random old magazines that I actually got at a museum. They were getting rid of a whole bunch of stuff out front. It was actually the art museum in Balboa Park in San Diego. They were getting rid of a whole bunch of their stuff, and this one, it was like $1 for like a bag of books. So I picked up a whole bunch of magazines and stuff and gave my $1 and took off with them. And then some of my biggest books that I've got down here are, I have 20,000 Years of Fashion. When I was young, I wanted to be a fashion designer when I grew up for a while. I don't think I've ever told you guys that. That was one of my first, one of the first things that I thought I would do with the arts was be a fashion designer. And I had all of these books of sketches of different designs. And yeah, so anyway, when I got into college and I needed an arts credit before I changed my major to art history, which is actually what I ended up graduating with, I took this history of fashion class. It was so interesting. I learned all about all kinds of not necessarily just fashion, but like what people wore through the ages. It was really cool. I also have this book. This is absolutely, I can't say this is my favorite book because my favorite book is actually not in this pile. It's elsewhere. But this is one of my favorite books. This is the book that I purchased when I decided that I was going to change my major to art history and really actually go for it, because I changed my major several times when I was in college. I thought I was going to be a doctor. I thought I was going to be an engineer. Really, I didn't want to do any of that. Really, I just wanted to look at pretty things. So that sounds much simplified. But anyway, this is Gardner's Art Through the Ages. It's the full shebang. A lot of times you can get like one half or the other half of it. But I bought this by myself I remember it was from books.com before it was, they were owned by Amazon at the time, but it was called books.com, I think. And it was very expensive at the time, and I'm sure the newer version is still very expensive. But I absolutely adore this book because it reminds me of a time when I made my first like real grown-up decision for myself, and that was that forget engineering, forget business, forget being a doctor, forget biology. I am going to study art history, and damn everybody, I'm going to do what I want to do. And I did. And I had to buy this book with my own money, but I did it. I worked a lot of hours for this book because I made like minimum wage, let me tell you, during college. And that is pretty much it. That was a very, very long-winded tour of my little bookshelf under here. Thanks, you guys. for watching.